Hey everybody, I'm down in Miami and I will be competing tomorrow. Thanks for joining me for my last update before American Ninja Warrior. You probably guessed that this whole experience hasn't really been just about running an obstacle course on TV. This is just one of the many crazy adventures I've chosen in the past few years to go after. Along the way, I've failed more times than I can count. People ask me, why are you so intense? Why American Ninja Warrior? You're 41. Why not just relax and enjoy life? Well, to answer that, I have to take you back to 2010, when I found out I had stage 4 cancer. When we found out at the exact same time that my son had a tumor in his lung. My family and I were living a nightmare. The doctors gave me about 18 months to live, and they removed most of my 3-year-old son's left lung. My world was crumbling around me. Now back then, my son and I had a weekly ritual. Every Friday, I would make popcorn and we'd watch The Lion King. And every week, I would skip past the part in the movie where the father lion died. I thought it was just too traumatic for my 3-year-old. A few weeks into our medical nightmare, I decided to let the movie play through, knowing that my son would soon face the same loss. I underwent chemo treatments for many months. In that chemo room, the other patients and I would all talk about what we would do when we eventually recovered. Every one of us tried to be so optimistic. We talked about the dreams that we would finally fulfill and the changes we would make if we were given a second chance. Many of the people in that room never got that second chance. I really didn't believe I would either. Somehow, my son and I survived. When you're one of the few survivors of a tragic scenario, you sometimes experience what psychologists call survivor's remorse, a sense of guilt over making it through a situation while others didn't. I never experienced any remorse, but I did experience something I call survivor's obligation. As a survivor, I have an obligation to attempt to live out the dreams we all expressed in the chemo room. I have an obligation to the many others that didn't make it through their cancer battle, not to merely exist after cancer, but to live the life we all dreamed of. So, my son and I live outside of our comfort zones. What does that mean? Well, this is him completing a lap around the pool at 3 years old, only 4 months after surgery to remove most of his lung. I completed an Ironman triathlon on the 5-year anniversary of beating cancer without ever having done a marathon, triathlon, or endurance event of any type. I got back into the cockpit and led missions in the Air Force when doctors told me that I never would. Then I went back to school and left a military career to reinvent myself in the corporate world. It was terrifying and exhilarating for us at the same time. This is the life I was meant to lead, and it took cancer for me to realize that I was living a safe life instead of an amazing one. Here's why I'm sharing all this personal information with you. First, to thank you for joining me on this journey and for supporting me after each update here on my way to Ninja Warrior. But this really hasn't been about an obstacle course. As a survivor, I have an obligation to dream big and do things that terrify me. But you are a survivor too. You may not have faced down cancer, but you're a survivor. Maybe you're a survivor of divorce, a broken family, a relationship, physical illness, loss of a loved one, or maybe just a feeling of hopelessness. If you're watching this, you've survived. The scars will always be there. I will never be rid of the physical and emotional reminders of my battle, and as a survivor, you carry scars as well. But we have a decision where to go from here. You've made it through those trials, not to merely exist, but to get outside of your comfort zone, do what you're afraid of, and start today. When I thought I was dying, my biggest regrets were not my failures. My regrets were those things I never did. Things I didn't do because I was afraid, because I let less important things get in the way, and because I didn't have the audacity to dream big. Don't waste this opportunity. I know many people that would have given anything to have the second chance that you've been afforded. Go on an adventure. Take an incredible team with you and do something